Good afternoon. Ross Gorzhevsky here, coming to you live from the set of the Dr. Patrick Flynn Show. Like I said, Ross Gorzhevsky, the host, who is excited about taking you on a guided journey for the next 30 minutes, answering questions about health, business, personal development, and so much more, all with the hopes of giving you the information to be able to engage in a conversation with all the naysayers in your world. And let me tell you, they're out there. But with me right now is the one and only Dr. Patrick Flynn, also known as the Hormone Whisperer. Doc, how you doing today?
Doing awesome. Had a great Father's Day weekend.
Yes.
Excited for our show today. We're opening Pandora's box today.
We are.
It's going to be, yes, but we had to. These questions come in so much, and this
Yes.
one hit home a little bit, not personally, but with women that we deal with on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a fun show today.
We put out the teaser yesterday when I went live, and I told you this is an episode that you're not going to want to miss. So let me just dive right into the question because we need all the time that we have today. And
On one question.
But we do have a special guest that's going to be coming up in here a little bit as well.
Yes, we got Dr. Greg Abbott.
The heartthrob?
Our heartthrob, that's right. He's he loves his cardiovascular, and he's pretty damn good looking too. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's dive into this question. All right, so Marie writes in, Dr. Patrick, I am a 37-year-old woman. I've been married for 10 years, and I have 2 children. I have no sex drive, and it's starting to cause problems in my marriage. What can I do to help this feeling that I have? I feel horrible, but I have no desire. You did a follow-up with her.
I want to follow up with her because there's so many parts to this question.
Yes, and you asked, did you have any, do you know of any female hormone problems that you might have? And her response was?
Nope. She had normal cycles, nothing she knew of. She never had any history of any of that, no cysts, no anything that way.
Absolutely. Then you followed up with another question saying, have you been tested? And we probably already know the response.
No.
No.
That's a very big key thing.
Absolutely. So let's start tackling this one, breaking it down, because there's a lot here.
Well, there's so much here because there's so many misnomers, and I'm going to break some of these. Now, once again, I'm speaking in generalities because each woman is different. But once again, each woman has a cycle, and during that pattern of that whole cycle, what happens is they change 4 times in the month.
Sure.
And I'm going to say a little plug here. If you have not been to my Hormone Connection seminar, it will change your life.
Absolutely.
Both men and women. People think it's about females. No, it's just women are much more complicated because, like I just said, their cycle happens through the course of a month. And it really changes 4 times in the month. So therefore, as we know, by the time that you understand that, guess what happens? You realize that you're married to 4 different women.
Yes.
So it changes. So if you think about this, this question hits home so much because I sit across from women and some of our other docs that way, and they talk about having no sex drive. And the sad part today, we've actually had this whole this thing about that men and women are basically the same. Which, guys, listen, if you're living in that world, you're living in a fantasy world, and you're setting yourselves up for physical and mental problems. Let me start here, okay? Let me say this really quickly. I'm going to make this statement very, very boldly. Ladies, if you have a sex drive like your husband, you're going to end up very sick and probably end up have cancer someday.
Yes.
It is physically impossible for a woman to have a sex drive like a man. Biochemically, it cannot happen. And for the 3 women that are in the whole world, we hate your husbands, okay?
Yes.
But let's start there. So women have to get this through their head. They say, listen, we understand this. With guys, listen. And on the flip side, if a guy's not chasing every day, he's sick.
Yes.
We just all had our testosterone measure like crazy, and we all got raging testosterone, except for the youngest guy in the office, my nephew, Brandon. He's behind the camera right there and running the show. But the idea is that, it's funny, and he's 23 years old, and I'm 42, and you're 42.
Yes.
I got you by, 3 months?
I think so.
Okay, good. At least I'm the better looking of the twins.
Better looking of the twins.
Okay.
And older.
By 3 months. I came out a little earlier.
Yes.
Okay. But the cool thing is this. Where were we? Squirrel. Okay.
Squirrel. We're talking about testosterone levels and
testosterone
hormones.
Levels. So what happens is a guy is supposed to have that drive every single day. And at a high level. So ladies, if you want your husband to calm down his sex drive, the only way you can do that is by getting him sick.
Yes.
Honestly.
Absolutely.
Testosterone levels are supposed to be maintained good at a high level. No, but my doctor said that testosterone levels go down as I get older. He's an idiot.
Yes.
Your doctor's an idiot.
Absolutely.
That's their excuse for saying, I have no idea why they went down. And there's a lot of medications, including statin drugs, which Dr. Riggs hit on, that drive testosterone down.
But hold on real quick here. You just mentioned something. I know I'm going to probably throw a little bit of a wrench in the system here. We're talking about desire. We're talking about females. And then we're talking about statin drugs. But what is some of the side effects of some of these drugs, does it not tear down the sex drive?
Massively. I mean, it's kind of interesting because when I started practice 18 years ago, statin drugs were very common to males, but they barely gave them to females.
Yeah.
Now, actually, they give them to them on a regular basis because there's BS and cholesterol that causes heart disease. But on top of it is when they knock down cholesterol, they knock down all the anabolic hormones. They knock down the sex hormones that way. So going back to this young lady, she's 37. Right. Okay, so there's a couple things here. The reason why I reached out to her, why I wanted to cover this question, because number one, there is physical problems that can happen.
Oh, absolutely.
And ladies, you know this. If you've been a patient of any of our offices across the country, guess what happens? Your testosterone levels, your estrogen levels, remember the estrogen is actually a term that represents multiple hormones. But if those levels are thrown off, oh my goodness, good luck.
Absolutely.
Do you see what I'm saying? They drop, and you can have a beautiful, wonderful, great woman, just a wonderful person. And what happens is the desire is not there because it's hormonal.
Yes.
It's hormonal. And when those hormones are not there, so that's why I said, listen, did you get tested? So it's Marie, right? Marie.
It's Marie, yep.
Marie, at 37 years old, the sad part is, guess what happened? She has no sex drive, but she's never been tested. So there can be a physical attribute, number one.
Yes.
So there can be a physical depletion of your hormones that lead to it, mainly your estrogens and actually testosterone. It's supposed, yes, women, you do have testosterone, and it does create some sex drive.
Absolutely.
Heck, if you look at one of the major conditions, I know we talked about it the other day a little bit, but PCOS, testosterone levels are skyrocketing. Dihydrotestosterone is skyrocketing. Guess what those women's sex drive is like?
Mine.
Yes, they're at Ross levels. Okay,
Ross levels.
There's Ross levels and there's Dr. Patrick levels.
Raw and unscripted, ladies and gentlemen. We always told
unscripted,
you.
raw. We don't care. Remember, we said this is it's still a PG show, but like I said, we opened Pandora's box today.
Absolutely.
And so that's a big part. So, as that goes on and continues that way, so at her being that age, she hasn't even taken step one. So, ladies, step one: get them measured. Your estrogen and testosterone is there. Okay, but let's go in there a little bit. So I asked her about testing, but then I asked her, ladies, it's kind of interesting. Your bodies are giving signals all the time that there's something changing in the body. Now let's go back to this. You do change, ladies, 4 times in the month. You do. So there are parts of your time. Yeah. Good. Well, actually, that's why men have to understand female hormones.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's so simple for a guy.
So they were right in high school, remember biology, and they were trying to teach you the menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why in the world would we need to know this stuff? Here's why.
Here's why. Because women are affected, just like men are, both physically and psychologically by hormones. If you think about it this way, if you have a young daughter or a young son and they hit puberty, their genes are the same, everything in their makeup of their body is the same, but one thing changes to make them progress.
Yes.
Their hormone levels.
Yes.
That's why it's important to get these kids measured at a very young age. Measured, get them tested, okay? And then what happens is men are great because they jump up and they stay straight across, okay? But women, from the time that they hit their cycle, is on a constant dynamic shift every week. Ladies, understand, you're not the same every week. Don't beat yourself up because emotionally you feel different every week. That's normal for you. Do you understand? And if a guy wants you to be like him, he's being an idiot.
Absolutely.
It's biologically impossible. You're not a man. You're not supposed to be like a man. You're not supposed to act like a man. So these females coming out and all this BS feminist movement, and not what I mean by feminist movement is not that women don't have equal rights. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying this idea that I can do what men do.
Yes.
No, you cannot. And we've gotten into this whole bull crap of the
now
sexual
we're going to get the
revolution.
naysayers just right there.
Oh, that's okay.
It's beautiful.
They can.
Yep.
It's the naysayers. I get to speak all over the world, and it's kind of cool. Speaking out, go to more, liberal states and stuff like that. You have women that are saying, I can do the same thing as a man. No, you can't. I actually had one woman say, listen, I disagree with what you teach. I said, really? Why are you here to listen to my seminar? I'm sick. Well, then shut up and sit down and listen for once.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
What do we say? Shut your pie
Shut
hole.
your pie hole.
Okay? Because I'm not here to cuddle them and make because she was sick. I'm going, so therefore you're pushing yourself to what your body can't handle.
Yeah.
So going back to this, and this is the part that's the most interesting. There's a lot of times that I will actually measure female hormones on a woman, and believe it or not, they're perfectly normal.
They're just fine.
They're just fine.
So then what's the component there that is potentially affecting the desire component in the realms of intimacy?
Usually they're married to a jerk. It's not a joke.
I've resembled that statement from time to time.
Even if they're not married to a jerk, but here's what happens is, guys, you're clueless, okay? Yeah. And I'm sorry if you guys don't want to hear this today, but you're clueless because here's what happens. If you think about this, and I started saying this one time because if you think about a guy, is so easy. A guy can be turned on in like 3 seconds.
Yes.
You know, my
gust of a wind.
My wife just walks by me and I'm already turned on. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's like, that's a healthy male. Ladies, don't downplay that. Be happy. That's a healthy male. He's supposed to be like, he's going to chase you. He's not a pervert. That's why it drives me nuts. Men are not perverts. They're not pigs. They're not disgusting. They're real men. Exactly. They're real healthy men that way. And ladies, if you know that, you can get your man to do anything you want. Okay? On the flip side, it's actually like this. And see, what happens is understanding, but see, just like a man can be stimulated very easy, a woman is very different. I would say a man's like fast food.
Yes.
Okay? It's ready right there. A woman is a 7-course meal.
Ooh,
there's a lot of preparation that way.
Days worth.
And see, really when a woman actually, your wife agrees to have sex with you, it's an agreement that she opens up the door.
Yes.
But now it's time for preparation and cooking.
Yes.
Women's hormones can be stimulated very easily that way. Mm-hmm. You're going to find out that most women, for example, when they get mentally stressed, guess what?
They disconnect.
It's done.
Yep.
It's done.
Absolutely.
Their stress levels increase. Now what happens, their cortisol, their stress hormones start to go up that way. And guess what happens? Their anabolic, their estrogens, testosterone drop.
Yeah.
And they do. And talk about desire. Do you see what I'm saying? And even if they don't drop below clinical levels to show that there's a health problem, what happens, they drop in their body of protection. Remember, it's interesting because testosterone and stress hormones are not connected. Yes. That's why a guy can have massive stress and still have a desire. A woman is not that way. A woman, for example, their body, even these feminist women say, I can handle everything a guy can. No, you cannot. You cannot physically. It's physically impossible. Okay? So what happens is, guys, and I find out these guys are just clueless because what they do is that woman may not even have a health problem, but they don't know what to do to stimulate their hormones.
They approach it like going to a fast food restaurant.
They do.
They want
I want this.
Bam. I want. Yes.
It's impossible. It's ridiculous. It can't happen that way. That's not the way a woman's body is made. It's all about that preparation. And if you don't want to prep your wife, then guess what? Stay single.
Yep.
It's not a joke.
Absolutely.
Stay single. Because you're going to cause just like this marriage right here. Okay? Because the guy now is being demanding of his wife. And what does that do, ladies?
Shuts you down.
And they feel guilty.
Yes.
A woman by nature is a giver. Do you see what I'm saying? But giving her body to another person that way, her husband that way, for example, is a big thing. And remember, guys, the body has to be prepped not only for mental reasons for a woman, but physically.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, you screw up that preparation process in the 7-course meal. Guess what you're not having?
You're not eating.
You're not eating.
You're starving.
You might as well hop in the car and go to Taco Bell. We've already said don't go to Taco Bell. It's already what?
Poisonous.
So my point is you got to really take your time. You've got to pay attention to the details, and you have to speak their language.
Yeah, in preparation, guess what? I always tell guys, say, listen, preparation starts early.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? This is like putting it into a crock pot. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no microwave, which microwaves are poisonous too. Okay? There's no microwave to a woman that way. And what happens is, guys, it's really interesting. Women, for example, guys are very visual. Okay? Women are very touch and sound oriented. What you say to them, for example, is a very big thing. Do you see what I'm saying? And what that does now, that stimulates, for example, their hypothalamus, their brain that way, and now they start to release certain hormones, and they start to build up. And then what it does, it changes a woman's body physically.
Yes.
See, that's the big thing. So what happens is when I see this, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to pull a stat out of my butt, okay?
Don't do that.
Because what happens is this. Because I'm just talking on clinical experience to deal with this that way. I will tell you that 70%, if not more, of women's, for example, problems when it comes to sexual desire has nothing to do with them physically.
Right. It's a mind game.
It's all emotionally.
Yes.
And it's usually because their husbands are clueless.
Do you know what happens? And I've noticed this too in years of being able to counsel a lot of, like we're talking right now, this concept of desire, this emotion, this primal instinct on the inside of us to want. Some people really don't even experience that until they're right in the middle of that experience together in that act of intimacy. It's not about what you feel 2 days or a half an hour or 45 minutes before. It's what happens sometimes right at that moment, and it really does.
I always say most women are like caged tigers. You just got to pick the lock. Yes. It's true. And then guess what happens? Now you have an animal on your hands.
Yes.
You understand? But guess what? See, but that's the thing. And that's one thing different. Us as men, we can be stimulated so quickly and so easy. You understand? It's like, and women actually get sick of it because that's what men are like. But that's a healthy man's supposed to be that way.
Indeed.
But guys, understand. And so going back to this woman, yes, number one, check if there is a physical problem. If you do have hormonal imbalances that way, guess what? It's a very big part. Number two, for example, is this. You're going to find out, and I've found this out clinically, I believe this, and I can prove this scientifically, that the major reason why women don't have desire and the major reason why women are sick today is because of mental stress. It devastates their hormone levels. It devastates them. You know, people are always like, you know, doc, you treat your wife a certain way. Well, sure I do. Because why? I got great testosterone levels.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and so
yes.
therefore, guess what happens? Is get this through your head, guys, and then on top of it, you're going to find out that if you start to do the things, and each woman is different.
Yep.
And if I bring, here's the kicker, guys. They change every week.
So pay attention.
They change every week.
Yes.
Be receptive to them.
Yes.
You know, saying, you know, talk about that 7-course meal. It's almost like, you know, we talk about, you know, there's a different stage at each part that way. You know what I'm saying? That flower needs to be opened up.
This isn't like going to Golden Corral where it's smorgasbord, where you can pick some of this, choose some of this, but I don't want any of that. You get the complete 4-season change.
That's right. It's so the big thing is this. Yeah, there can be physical problems that lead to that sexual desire, but you're going to find out that the majority of women that I've actually dealt with is some of that. I'll test them, and their stress hormones are through the roof, and their testosterone is normal, and their estrogens are normal, and then they look at me and they go, "Doc, why do I have no sex drive?" And then I believe it or not, I'll ask them a question. I'll say,
"Are you married?
Are you? Are you? No, see, but I don't want. I don't want to. You don't want to. You don't want to. You don't want to. You know, because there are great men out there. And there are great men out there that actually love their wives, but they don't know what to do.
Yes.
You saying? They don't know what to do. They don't know how to take care of their wife because they don't understand their physical body. But because they know that their physical body, they look at her and they have massive love for that woman. They have massive desire for that one woman. But guess what happens? And then when she doesn't respond, he automatically, instead of understanding that, thinking that there's a psychological problem. Yep. And guess what happens? Understanding the female bodies, guys, will help you unlock that massive tiger in that cage, but an emotional, how can I say, just emotional queen that is just waiting to be opened up.
It takes communication, though, too. I would say that in order for, you know, this component to really work, you know, the wife is going to really, or the female is going to have to talk to their partner and really help communicate, not only that, with what she's looking for in the realms of intimacy and what's working and what isn't working.
Oh, ladies, let me tell you this, okay? Remember, there is no handbook. There is no app for a guy that says this. Yeah, for you. I'm like, I didn't come with the Christy Flynn app.
Right.
When she said I do, it's like, okay, I'm going to download this app and this is how she works. No. You know, every woman's different.
It's more like, this doesn't work, this doesn't work.
That's right.
This doesn't work, this doesn't work.
It's basically trial and error. And then, guys, when you do find something that works that week, it changes the next one week. It does, because she is different that way. And all the women right now are sitting back laughing their butt off. Yep. And what's going to happen, I expect every woman to tag their husband in, but they won't tag their husband in because they think he's going to be mad because they think you're talking about him.
They want to win with you too.
They do. And so what happens is tag your husband in there and say, listen, understand what Dr. Flynn is talking about. I'm talking about, now it's really funny because a lot of women always say to us, Doc, you really understand this. No, we don't. We don't go through what you go through physically. But we do understand it because we understand how the whole hormonal thing works.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there is no magic supplement. There is no magic pill. There is no magic this. And there are. People say, Doc, well, I took hormones and actually I got more of a desire. Yes, but not like a man.
Correct.
Second of all, what happens is it's fake. Because why? You're just altering it chemically to change your levels.
Yes.
And you got to find out. We know how to take care of the physical depletions that way, and that's what we do. That's what got me to be the hormone whisperer.
Yes,
is because I started to figure out things that they weren't teaching out there, and we started to teach it.
Yes.
And then we started to spread to all of our clinics.
Yep.
And Durham, if you're Dr. Alex, who's a female in Montana, or if you're one of our other docs that's a male, you know what I'm saying? Take like Dr. Ryan Miller, you know, down in Mississippi area that way. Guess what? He speaks that same language that way. All of our docs do. Because why? They've been taught this way. They understand how the body works and what to do with it and how to get back normal. You know what I'm saying? And guys, big word of advice. Don't be a jerk to your wife and then expect sex from her.
Slow down. Be patient.
Be patient.
Kind.
Well, that's right, because here's what happens. Let me give you this. If this woman just actively gives up her body to her husband, guess what happens? It can physically hurt her.
Yes.
It can physically hurt her. A guy does not feel pain during sex. A woman can. And most women will not say anything to their husbands because they don't want to disappoint them.
Exactly.
They don't want to let them down. Guys, do not put your wives in that situation. That is wrong. And I believe, for example, it's happening so much today. And it's one of the reasons why women actually don't desire sex today.
So get tested.
Get tested.
And maybe it really
and don't be an ass.
Don't be an ass. And it maybe really has nothing to do with the concept of feeling and this concept of desire, too. Because there's those women out there, Doc, that say, well, I'm loaded with massive amounts of desire, and they could be what?
Sick as a dog.
And that we should talk about another time, because there is another part of that demographic out there that feels that way, and maybe they love that.
That's right. And we could go on for this topic for literally hours and stuff like that.
But what we're going to do real quick
right
here,
now.
Doc, is we're going to take a complete shift, and we are going to tackle a topic that just came out over the weekend. It was something by the American Heart Association where they
was a
came
big
out
lie.
and decided to really put a spin on coconut oil, whether it is healthy for you or even if it ever has been healthy for you. So right now, what we're going to do is welcome to our set is Dr. Greg Abbott from Green Bay, the heartthrob, and this is his niche. So come on over here, my friend.
Come on, Dr. Greg. Yes, and Riley's giving him the golf clapping back. Come on in, Dr. Greg.
It's good to be here.
Dr. Greg is one of our prime doctors here. You know, we got wonderful doctors at Green Bay office that way. He's one of the head docs here and stuff like that. And his love is the cardiovascular. So, Doc, you got 9 minutes, well, actually, to change the whole world on cardiovascular. No, you got 9 minutes to share what you texted me, you were so mad about this. You were so devastated because he tests people better than anybody does cardiovascular-wise. So I'm just going to turn the stage over to you. It's all yours, man. Go for it.
So I can probably cut to the chase in about 5 seconds. Best advice, whatever the American Heart Association says to do the opposite.
Don't do it.
It'll be awesome.
Yes.
But ultimately, why are they coming out on coconut oil? Really, it comes down to saturated fat, because coconut oil is primarily saturated fat. And for the longest time, since the 1950s, they've been out there saying saturated fat causes your cholesterol levels to go up and it increases heart disease and you're going to die. And in fact, it's one of the most healthy things on the planet. And it's something that we teach our patients all across the country. And it's something that we really need to get a better understanding of to really get the myth just out of there. It was unbelievable when I heard that.
And I love that you said this because people say, and I saw this on Facebook this morning, people say, well, it's good to have both sides. No, it's not, guys. When the other side is wrong, it's not good. Right. You just telling people they're freaking idiots. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
To say it's like, oh, no, you want to hear both sides. There is no both sides. So, sorry, just get you all frustrated on that one. So, go for it.
Well, it's one of the most sensitive topics in general. Heart disease is still the #1 killer. So why
going
would
up.
we listen to the association that is still the #1 cause of death in the United States?
Yes.
So if they're saying that coconut oil is bad for you, what were they saying in this article that you should use as the alternative?
Well, the alternative to that statement?
Yes.
Well, ultimately, when it comes down to coconut oil and we think about what it does, is when it comes to saturated fat, our body has so much of it, and it's such a huge requirement for everything that we have. Every cell in our body has cholesterol and saturated fat on the membrane.
Amazing.
We need it for this very important topic we just talked about, our hormones.
Sex hormones.
Guess what? You need cholesterol for that.
Yes.
At the end of the day, really, there's so many things we don't even know about the benefits of saturated fat and cholesterol that they're basically trying to dispel a very critical thing that all of us need for just normal health, let alone the optimal health we all want for everybody.
Right. Now, the one thing that I've watched you do for years, and you're the best at that way, is when you run a true cardiovascular panel on people, and you get to see the pre and post, and you get to see when they go back into their cardiovascular surgeon and stuff like that, because by the time they get to you, they've already been through everything and stuff like that. That's the one thing, bad thing. Doesn't matter if it's hormones, doesn't matter if it's cardiovascular, doesn't matter if it's diabetes with Dr. Jason and stuff like that. They end up with us last. So if they're as you're working with them and you're having them take the coconut oil and things like that, what does happen to their cardiovascular panel?
Great question. So I think the biggest myth out there about cholesterol that we all need to set the stage on is low cholesterol is not good. Optimal cholesterol is what everybody needs. And for some people, that's higher than what the American Heart Association tells us it should be. And so what coconut oil does, and the article was correct on this, when you eat coconut oil or saturated fat, your cholesterol levels will go up. They should. If they don't, then you are really sick.
Yes.
And so ultimately, when it comes down to it, when it comes to measuring what that's doing, we need cholesterol levels to go up for most people out there.
Well, think of it this way. If you're sick, you need more cells, and you said that every cell in the body has it that way. So by demand, your body is going to need more cholesterol. It's going to need that for repair that way. So, and like I said, this myth of what it does that way, it's just that they're not getting tested properly.
Exactly. And with that testing, it comes down to this. Most people out there have had basic cholesterol testing done. It's really, number one, incomplete. Number two, it's not going to tell you anything about your risk. So if that's all you're relying on, and why do they rely on that? Because they want to know whether you need that statin medication or not. And that's it. That's really what they care about. But when we test, we look for really the advanced profile. The great example I love to give, think about stepping on a scale. And let's say that scale says 150 pounds. You don't know anything about that scale other than what that weight shows. You need to know the composition. You need to know how many, how big or small, and those are some things that we test for to ultimately determine what that risk association is.
It's kind of funny. I got to tell you guys a quick story. He didn't know I was going to do this today. But as you can tell, Dr. Greg likes to work out a ton and stuff like that. If he took his shirt off right now, he's got more ripples than Lake Michigan on a windy day. Okay? But so it's kind of funny. But what he did, no joke, he did his own cardiovascular panel, and he came to me. He's like, I'm changing my workout. I'm like, you are? Because he works out on a regular basis. He's the one that actually gets him and Jason get us working all the time that way. It's kind of cool. And he looked at his cardiovascular panel and said, what I'm doing right now is not good for my heart to what I can be doing. And you changed your whole workout. Tell about that way, because your test dictated what you've been doing, because you're a college athlete. You've been an athlete. You've always been huge into fitness that way, and stuff like that. So tell them what made you do that when you saw that cardiovascular panel, that you can actually be ripped like crazy and huge and be destroying your heart.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest fallacies about exercise is that we feel like exercise is the true benefit. Really, it's the recovery and how our body responds to exercise.
Good one.
That is the biggest benefit. And what I was realizing is, number one, I wasn't recovering, so it was creating this cholesterol demand that I was completely unaware of. And one of the things that a lot of people are unaware of with, let's throw out HDL. Most of us have heard of that. They call it the quote-unquote good cholesterol. We need it because it helps clear all the crap out of our system. But what exercise can do, if you're doing it the right way, it actually helps raise that HDL level. And I realized my levels weren't where they needed to be. So I knew I wasn't recovering and I was doing the wrong form of exercise. And again, we could spend way more than the allotted time we have here on that exercise component, but you've got to do
that's
it the
a
right
show
way.
itself right there. Because Dr. Greg, who, for example, his background in exercise and everything like that, became a doc that way, until he started testing himself properly that way, he didn't even know what workout he should have been doing. That's crazy, man. That's why sometimes we want to move, we want to exercise. We really do. It's essential that way. But doing it wrong and not recovering right can cause heart damage. And he found on his test that way, and it caused him, after seeing that lab. And that's one thing, guys. You got to tell a story. Once again, I hate to throw this on you again that way, but he recently had a cardiovascular surgeon look at the lab they had a patient do, and he didn't know how to read the values. So go on that one.
Well, I had a patient come in, and she had the panel done. She came to one of my cholesterol talks and was blown away and said, "I need this information." Well, she got the information back, and unfortunately, she works at a hospital and knew the cardiologist there, and went to the cardiologist, and he's like, number one, why did he run these numbers? And number two, I don't even know what they are. And so, again,
that's a great vote of confidence.
It's unbelievable. And here's the sad end of the story. She hasn't been back. She's stuck with the cardiologist. And so we still fight that battle every day. And that's why when publications like what came out, you were ticked. We feel sorry for you guys, and because you are being so misled and you don't know what to listen to all the time.
Yep. Well, like I said, the AHA has an agenda. See what I'm saying? And remember, they make a ton of money off of sick people. Maybe they can go jump rope for the heart again instead of that. Spend more money to the organization that way, because because what we do, this is what they do. They play on people's emotions. Their mom died from heart disease, so they want to help somebody not do it that way. And so the person has a vested interest in, I want to be able to help, to be able to find something to help, but they're going towards the wrong idea. One thing that I want to end on and stuff like that, and this is really big. And somebody sent Dr. Greg an email one time, and I kind of laughed, because it's like we get hate mail all the time. And this wasn't really hate mail. It was kind of more like a comment going, well, you're a chiropractor. What are you doing talking about the heart? Well, let's look at this, guys. Heart disease with the AHA, I'm always saying American Medical Association. That's why I catch the M in there once in a while. But American Heart Association has been a dominant force for the last, let's say, at least 40 years. Statin drugs have been a dominant force for the last 40, 50 years. Okay? How are we doing for heart disease and cardiovascular disease?
Still number one.
Still number one, all-time high and increasing. But how they manipulate stats, they said, well, guess what? We live longer now. Yeah, because they're created techniques so you don't die. But we still have more heart disease every year. Why would we listen to them? You need a different perspective. Why do you think the wellness way got so damn big?
Yes.
I wish it was because we're so damn good looking. You know what I'm saying? Maybe if it was Greg, it was fine. You know what I'm saying? But me and Ross, we're out of luck that way. No, just kidding. I know it's good. No, but here's the point: is this is like because the results that come that way. So, Dr. Greg, like I said, obviously we're going to have you on a regular basis. We're going to have our other docs on here that way. Thank you so great for your insight. We're going to post his article, "Why the AHA is Dead Wrong," really dead wrong about coconut oil. So, Dr. Greg, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
For having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are excited. I told you this episode was going to be crazy, that we were going to be talking about things that were on one end of the perspective and then going way over here. But we are excited because next week we're going to do it all over again. So stay tuned. Have a phenomenal week. And once again, it's a beautiful day for wellness. See you next Tuesday.
See you guys.